we must either love each other or we must die.
Ottawa, Canada, the world in general, this is where the Trump regime is ultimately taking us, a world which is a predatory environment where only the struggle of the survival of the fittest, where the countries can simply take over other countries based upon the Venezuelan example, simply for resource extraction. This is a predatory environment. At the same time, as Canadians, where does that leave us? If we are not to fall like Venezuela, we are in a dire position as Canadians to contemplate an immediate approach to protect our sovereignty. And we cannot wait 3 years for the Gripen to potentially be on Canadian soil. We cannot even wait for the Carney government's planned 300,000 citizen soldiers. Trump is not going to wait on any of these options that Canadian has conventionally to protect ourselves. Indeed, in World War II, we did rise from a negligible navy to the third largest navy in the world, 400 vessels, but that takes time, and Trump regime is not going to wait on that in order to invade Greenland and to then invade Canada's north and make Canada a 51st state de facto. So where does that leave Canada? Well, unfortunately, the answer may be what Israel has done in order to protect itself in a hostile environment of the Middle East. Israel had to acquire nuclear weapons in order to protect itself from ultimately being destroyed, in its view, from the surrounding Arab countries. We as Canadians need to look at the most quickest way that we can defend ourselves from being swallowed up by a fascistic, arguably satanic, ideological view that the world is simply there for oil companies and respective elites to seize control of the planet for their own exploitation. Canada needs to start looking towards its own values, embrace them, and unfortunately pursue its own status as a prospective military power superpower in order to replace the United States, take leadership role, and protect its sovereignty. So Canadians not only need to contemplate the fastest way to protect its sovereignty, but it needs to find a way to start taking the leadership role that the United States has abdicated based upon the approach of the Trump regime. There needs to be a democracy that can stand up to fascism, that can stand up to the authoritarianism of China, of Russia, and now the United States. And Canada, based upon its own values, his own leadership, his own view across the world, that Canada is a beacon of light, even though we've had definitely serious problems with respect to racism and colonialism with respect to indigenous peoples. We need to start redressing those human rights atrocities and start making ourselves a role model for the world, at the same time defend ourselves. And we as Canadians need to start very quickly, start to discuss how we can potentially defend ourselves from being the next Venezuela. Will we need to have a conversation about nuclear weapons in Canadian soil? This is what I'm presenting to Canadians, that we need to start considering the most fastest way that we're going to defend ourselves. And this is not an ideal. It would be ideal if the United States returns to its leadership role as a democracy and as a superpower which seeks to enforce the respect for the rule of law, but we cannot rely on that as long as Trump regime is there. What can we do as Canadians to protect ourselves and protect the world from being under a total environment of destruction and oppression and fascism? Where do you see this going? what do you think we need to do as Canadians? Do we need to start to consider whether we need nuclear weapons to protect ourselves, as Israel has sought to protect itself in the Middle East? Do you think it's necessary, or do you think it's not necessary? Thanks for watching another edition of the Ottawa Market, and we look forward to your comments below on what we need to do to immediately protect ourselves from becoming a next Venezuela, alongside Greenland and other Mexico and other countries that Trump is seeking to control and annex, just like Hitler did in the 30s, late 30s. We are in a situation similar to that, and don't think that Trump would stop the Western Hemisphere. The whole world was, the world cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of Hitler. There must be a concerted effort to make sure that this does not happen again. And Canada can play a role on that if it wises up to its own sovereignty needs, and it wises up to the need to be a champion of democracy, social justice, and the rule of law throughout the world. Thanks for watching another edition of The Other Market. Look forward to your comments below.